My name is Cindy.wylie, and I'm a certified divorce financial analyst with Cetera Investors. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce a friend of mine. She is named one of Charlotte's top attorneys by Charlotte Magazine and awarded super lawyer by peers in North Carolina. Meet Deb Dilman, a family law attorney with Modern Legal, a collaboratively trained divorce attorney, and a certified mediator. With deep expertise in law and finance, Deborah is passionate about empowering clients through life-changing events like divorce and child custody. She's also a dedicated advocate for children with over 15 years of service through the Council for Children's Rights Custody Advocacy Program. Deb, I have a lot of clients that will ask me about mediation, and there's a lot of confusion around mediation and what it is. What would you say are the advantages and disadvantages to mediation?
So that's a really good question and not the easiest to answer. Mediation is a form of dispute resolution that keeps you out of protracted litigation. So if you can resolve your case in mediation, awesome. The problem with mediation is there's two types of mediation in my mind. There's the position-based mediation, and then there's the interest-based mediation. And those are very different. So the position-based mediation is you actually stake a position that's typically in line with what the statute says is going to happen. Mm-hmm. And you don't move from that that position. So maybe it works for you, but it doesn't resolve the emotional, what are my interests, what are my needs, what are my fears. So there is also interest-based mediation, negotiation, where we actually talk about what are you most fearful about. Most of the time that's money. And it's both sides, the one that has the money and the one that doesn't. I don't want to give up my money. How am I going to survive? So it's a huge fear. And then interest needs, do I need to have that former marital residence? Don't I need to have that former marital residence? So the pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages, I think are directly related to whether you approach it from an interest-based perspective or a position-based perspective. Mediation itself can be facilitated by either an attorney who is trained in mediation or by a non-attorney who's gone through the 40 hours of mediation training. And those can vary widely. In Mecklenburg County, there are a few mediators who are not attorneys, but understand family law. Mm-hmm. And then there are several attorneys who are certified mediators, certified financial mediators, who understand not only that piece of it, but the local practice, because they're attorneys and they understand what happens very clearly in our courtroom. So, you can get a hold of a mediator who's not a family law attorney who's certified, who may not understand some of those nuances, and that can be a disadvantage. It's an advantage in that it's probably less expensive than if you were to go to a family law certified mediator. Not always, but potentially. But the disadvantage is, are you really understanding what you're getting from this individual who's mediating? The other issue with mediations is a lot of people try to use the mediation as a way to not have to pay an attorney to help them through the mediation. Right. So they don't hire their own advocate, their own attorney, and they go to mediation on their own. And that's great if you've done all your research and you understand what the laws will do in North Carolina, what you are able to agree to do versus doing something that's void as against public policy. So it's hard to know when you're just starting through the process. So when I have people coming through as potential clients in my office and they talk to me about mediation, I encourage them to consider that because I understand that money is always an issue. But I always ask them to be really careful when they select a mediator. And if they really don't understand the differences, to just call me and I'll make some referrals so that they get a family financial person that's gone through the training, that understands the law, that has done really good work in Mecklenburg County. Yeah. Mediators can't draft documents either. So one of the disadvantages for mediation itself is that you come out of mediation, but then you still have to hire somebody to draft the formal document for you because mediators in North Carolina are not allowed to do that.
So if you're a mediator, and the fact is you're an attorney, but when you do a mediated case, you still, even though you are an attorney, you can't draft the documents because you were acting as a role as mediator.
That's
is that
right.
correct?
That's correct. So the Dispute Resolution Commission of North Carolina governs mediators. And right now, even though they're reconsidering this, but for years, we've not been allowed to draft at all. We can't even edit. So it has to be drafted by either one of the attorneys that the parties are represented, or we give a list of attorneys' names to the parties, and they have to go get somebody to draft the formal document. The only thing the mediator can do is just, here's my bulleted list of what you've agreed to. If you've agreed, you sign that, and then you go find yourself an attorney. Even as a family law attorney functioning as a mediator, we can't draft anything. We also can't give any legal advice, although most of the time we're dying to.
Yeah, like, I'm sure.
What just happened there?
Right.
But nope, zip it.
Yeah.
You can't say anything about the law to them. You can advise them to go talk to a lawyer. Sometimes in mediation, if they're not represented, maybe you adjourn and you say, okay, go talk to a lawyer and come back. We'll come back in a month. But again, that's a disadvantage to mediation because now you're paying twice.
Yeah.
Right. So, but the advantages for mediation are you resolve it. Right? You're not waiting for litigation. You're not waiting 18 months for your property distribution case to come up. You can resolve all issues in mediation if you want to, and you can get that done fairly quickly, and it's always less expensive than litigation. It's a nice way to resolve the legal issues. It doesn't resolve any of the emotional issues, which is what litigation does.
Well, thank you, though, for clearing that up, that confusion up.
You're welcome. Thanks.